Hey, everybody, what's going on? And welcome to another episode of Smoke and Mirrors. This very special episode is brought to you by that one popcorn kernel that absolutely refuses to pop and is eventually absolutely going to get stuck underneath your gums this weekend while you're binging Homemade on Netflix. Also brought to you by the patrons who meet us over here at the Smoke and Mirrors Patreon, patreon.com/ Smoke and Mirrors CCB. You can see 7 of those people's names right there. If yours is one of the first 25 to join them at any of the levels that we have of 5, of 15, of $20 per month, guess what's going to happen? You get your very own real life, actual, real to life Carlos Kareem Wyndham trading card. That's going to happen right up in your business. Hey, it's a little bit after 4:20, so let's get down to it. Here's the theme song. Uh, Stonewall Jackson falling down, falling down, falling down. Stonewall Jackson falling down. Fuck you, racist. And now here they are, your invenerable host, Carlos Kareem Wyndham. Oh my goodness. Stop it. Stop it, children. Hey, what is happening? I'm late. I know. Let's get to the thing. Our guest evidently does not live alone. There is a lot of motion that you can hear that I can hear. You can't see them. And this is all me cueing them to make it stop. But it's with love. Hey, guess what? We're officially here. It is a little bit after 4:20. My apologies to anybody who had tuned in right on time to be late. Do you have a warm beverage? If you're in Portland, today is a good day for that. If you are on the uh, in the upper North Pacific Northwest, it is a good day for that. I don't know how are you doing? How's the weather where you are? What's going on there? Hmm? You doing warm bevies? What are you doing? You doing a cold ting? Got yourself red stripe? What are you doing? How's it looking for you? Um, Man, the world is doing a lot to us right now. We could talk about that in a second. Guess what? We're going to have some more guests here this week. Do you know why? Because this experience of getting to know people, this is real. This is communion, and we're going to keep building it, even if we have to build our community prophylactically. We're going to do it. So tomorrow, I'm going to be here talking with Dom Jones, artist, educator, singer, songwriter, organizer, and all around badass. Also, a graduate of the Berklee School of Music. People who have graduated from the Berklee School of Music like to make sure that you are aware of that, and they should. It is it's a serious bit of business. Hey, speaking of serious bits of business, guess what? A week from today, I know who you were expecting to see today. Maybe if you've been watching this week, but you probably didn't. A week from today, I am going to be sitting here with Esperanza Turvalon Garrett. That's going to be dope. We're going to be talking stuff. Not sure what's happening technically. It sounds like someone's trying to Skype into my Skype, our Skype. I don't know what they're doing. I'm guessing it's feds. And so, except for me and my guest, I'm going to say that I have no consent nor knowledge of this being recorded. Esperanza Turvalon Garrett is going to be here uh, for discussion on the census, the importance of it, and what's going on in these here Trumpian COVID times. But I do have another special guest today. I had told you all that this is going to be part of a three-part series. I do my best not to lie. It's one of the things that happens if you come from an alcoholic family and you're somebody in recovery. You make sure that you tell the truth. Um, so it is going to be a three-part series. She will be here for the second. We are at the end of Pride. Ha! Fooled you. Fuck that. Pride never ends. So the riot continues, and we now have two reasons to celebrate Stonewall. Of course, the Stonewall that was set off that set forward the Pride movement, and indeed the fall this morning in Richmond, Virginia, of the venerable statue of Stonewall Jackson. All the statues are coming down. This one was done not just as part of a protest movement. This was done by the state. There were cranes involved. The shit was dope. The shit was dope. So shout out to Virginia. Shout out to the Confederacy. The Confederacy. It lasted less than 5 years. Outkast was together for almost 10 and had several Grammy award-winning songs and Grammy-nominated albums, including and all the way up to their final Speaker Box Love Below, which is sort of representative of the sound of a group breaking up. And yet, that group had more of an impact on the history of the United States and our culture than did the Confederacy. So, fuck you, soldiers. Another one down. Hey, it matters. It matters. That level of symbology matters deeply, right? That whole thing, as we know, was a movement after Reconstruction. So the statues of the Confederacy was about this mythology of whiteness. It's not about whiteness. It's not about who they are. Not about who we are. It was about trying to scare us, and didn't work, and it's still not working. So those are coming down. Uh, it is a curiosity to me how we travel through history, how we demarcate history. And I think that this moment, if nothing else, is proof of the reality that nostalgia is a racist sentiment. So it's time to let that go. You can be a meteor, you can be a dinosaur, and me and my crew are filled with meteors. Also, dinosaurs had feathers, so even whatever you think about yourself in the past, that's not what it was. All right, listen, I have a guest, and I'm going to read things now for a second. I want to prepare myself because I want to prepare you because you need to be prepared for what's about to happen to you. Uh, I was given the same warning when I met this person, and it is very rare that I meet somebody who has as much flourish as I, and I think to myself, wow, they're really not faking it. I think they're just like that. That I think to myself, ooh, this might be you toned down. This might be the inside voice version of you. And it still just bleeds so much fabulousness everywhere that honey, we need cleanup on aisle two. Okay, do you know what I'm saying? It's that kind of fabulous. The history, the biography is as the youngs say, drippy. I don't know what that means. I just hear the young people say it, so now I'm saying it too. Uh, um, so here I go. I'm gonna try to read. I'm gonna hold on. I'm not ready yet. It's for my glaucoma. Okay, here we go. You know what I should have done? I should have asked a question before I even started this, so I'm gonna just ask it out loud now and be transparent. Mayor or Meyer? No, you didn't
Mayor.
answer. Mayor, thank you. Okay, be quiet again. I didn't say it. Okay, we'll cut that. Don't worry about it. Ray Mayer. She, they, and Queen is the Census Equity Manager of the Portland African American Leadership Forum. If you are from here, you know this crew as PAALF, one of the baddest Black women led organizations in the nation and certainly in this here city. Ray is a first-generation immigrant from South Africa, which I want to get into. I have a foster brother from South Africa. I want to get into that. Where she worked as a journalist telling stories about marginalized communities outside of South Africa. Ray has worked as a model, a teacher, a master of ceremonies, and organizer. After a trip to Portland, Oregon during the 2016 election season, Ray felt isolated and invisible. They are now, however, working in Portland to build a city that will be one that folks of all African descent, folks from across the diaspora, actually do count, where they feel connected, where they feel affirmed. Ray serves on the board of PDX Alliance for Self-Care, the Vista Community Advisory Board, I blew it. Advisory Board for Campus Compact of Oregon. You're going to explain that. I don't. It's too many goddamn letters. And is a proud ambassador of the Proud African Cultural Festival of Oregon. You can usually find her singing along to Amy Winehouse, I'm assuming soundtrack, not Along with the Ghost, or reading Black feminist literature with a highlighter in hand. See, that's why we friends. That's why we friends. When Queen gets a seat at the table, she brings 2 folding chairs and 2 femmes. Would you please, Smoke and Mirrors, welcome here my niecey, Queen. Welcome.
Hype.
More hype. Yeah, more hype.
Hype.
That was, I don't know about the triangle. Time to change the page, I suppose. Hey, baby.
That was incredible. Hey, Auntie. How you doing?
I am good. Thank you so much.
Happy to hear it.
Given circumstances, I'm good. I'm lying. I'm good to see you.
That's true, though.
Let me say it like that. I'm fucked up in the game. I'm doing the best I can, though. I'm surviving. How you surviving? What's going on with
I'm
you?
out here surviving on these streets, trying to thrive on these streets.
So when you say you in these streets, is you in these streets, physically in these streets right now? What's going on with you?
Avoiding the streets as much as I can. I'm staying home.
Okay. So working from home, doing the things, because you're busy.
Working from home, socializing from home, gymming from home, lifing from home. I'm trying to leave. I'm trying to stay safe.
I hear you. So how is what are you doing right now in terms of the moment, right? Because I don't know your history, how you came to organizing in this. I know for myself, when I was a young girl, before I was the auntie, I was very often out here in these streets, right? That was one of the main places I would be in a moment like this. And I know I find it frustrating to have to figure out ways to do the work like this. I don't know. What is your experience like, though? Is it similar or?
It is kind of similar. I mean, there is a lane for everyone in the movement, right? There's space and place for everybody. There's not just space for people that are like literally out in the streets, right? I mean, I joke that I've become a bit of an armchair activist, which is obviously not true. But what I mean when I say that is I've been organizing from home. I've been organizing from my laptop. I've been co-writing a list of demands. I've been trying to keep folks informed about everything that's happening. And it's just been amazing to be able to use my talent as a writer and to be able to use my talent where I'm able to vocalize what folks are feeling, right? Yeah. So right now we are meeting this moment with a lot of rage and a lot of anger. So, and I'm happy to be doing that. I'm happy to be typing angrily on my keyboard because we're done fucking around. And so even though I'm home and my partner is out in the streets, right? Like we are both fighting right now and we're both in the movement. It's interesting, though, that, the pandemic has brought this challenge, right? Like, yes, some folks do have more capacity to be out there, but at the same time, a lot of folks are like not comfortable and safe enough to go outside. But the great thing is we're not asking for everybody to be outside, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's a real different time. It's a real different time. I think the
Hmm.
recognition that your generation, uh, you're millennial or Generation Z
I
or
am a
cusp
millennial.
millennial.
I feel like I'm more cuspy. Yeah.
Okay.
Cuspy.
So, I mean, that whole thing though, right? I mean, because both of your generations are the two, right? Like essentially millennial
Hmm.
generation was like, guess what? You thought that it was a tough thing to get your head around the idea of your
Hmm.
sexual preference. We're doing gender, honey, so we're moving on. And
Yes.
and right now you've got these Z's who are just like, oh, we're not fucking with your systems. But
Yes.
rules seems to be what's
Yes.
been keeping us in
Yes.
place. I don't know what's happening. And having the opportunity to work with you all,
Hmm.
and side by side and in deference, right,
Hmm.
to the leadership that you've been displaying has been an
Hmm.
enormous moment. But watching in particular that thing that you're talking about, right, the idea that there is
Hmm.
no single lane, right, that
Hmm.
has to be the authentic lane. I think,
Hmm.
I don't know. Talk about what that's opened up for you, because I'm seeing it the
Hmm.
way, but I'm seeing it through these old ass Gen X eyes. So I don't know if I'm seeing it correctly at
Hmm.
all. So what are you
Hmm.
seeing in terms of the lane that's open for folks, just given
Yes.
the moment, given the technology, and given the leaderships?
Yeah, I mean, at my organization, PAALF, we have recently adopted this Black queer feminist lens. And this has been inspired by the amazing badass Charlene Carruthers.
Okay.
And basically, what that philosophy is that we have to center the most marginalized folks. Like, if we are not centering those most marginalized, like, why the fuck are we even doing this work? And in the words of Fannie Lou Hamer, right? Nobody's free until we are all free. And so
Listen.
that has been an amazing starting point for us as an organization.
Yeah, yeah.
Look, we are not interested in in respectability politics. We are not interested in making you feel more comfortable. We are just asking, are you with us or not? Because if you're not, like, we're gonna keep it moving, right? We are working towards a world without police, and we are saying very clearly that this world is possible.
Mm,
I think, the fact that folks have been cooped up at home for a while, and the fact that many, many folks are experiencing challenges like unemployment and
hmm.
other frustrations like maybe relationships not working out, there's definitely been like this like simmering feeling of like resentment and rage, and people just need to like get it out of their systems, right? We can use all of that sentiment to say, why don't we use that energy and why don't we try and build a better world?
Yeah.
And and so that's how we are sort of approaching this, right? And the amazing thing is, like, we are able to craft the world that we want to live in. We are inspired by folks that have been doing this work for such a long time.
Mm.
I mean, obviously, we're thinking about, Auntie Angela Davis and other organizations that have been doing this work as well. Just recognizing that this is a movement. It's not about an individual person. It's not about one individual organization. And recognizing, yes, it's a movement. So that means this is a marathon, right? Like, in the words of Nipsey Hussle, like, the marathon continues. Like, I fucking hope my grandkids don't have to be doing this work, right? But in the meantime, we want to make sure that folks are also sustaining themselves right now, and we want to make sure that folks are pacing themselves so that this is not just a trend.
Yeah.
Black Lives Matter is not a trendy fucking hashtag. We are
Mm.
not going to stop fighting, and we are not going to stop doing this work until we know that all Black lives matter. And so that is sort of the approach that we've been taking.
Yeah.
I can go
Listen.
on and on and on.
No, you should go on and on and on. Y'all can talk for yourselves. We've had our turns, right? Like when we were young, our whole thing was like, we honestly, in cultural and representation, believed that we were transforming the world, right? More than once as an artist
Mhm.
or a participant in culture. I
Mhm.
found myself being
Mhm.
either on stage or in the audience, right? Being the
Mhm.
generation of the first generation of Lollapalooza. Thank you.
Yes.
Feeling like maybe we really were seeing something, right? Maybe we really were
Mm-hmm.
doing something
Uh-huh.
because we were just at the heels of there being such a thing as black radio still. Do you know what I'm saying? Like that
Mm-hmm.
we were that segregated. I'm from the generation where not only did MTV play videos, I was there before they played niggas videos. They would not play no black videos, period. Okay? None. The first one was Michael Jackson. It took a very long time for white folks to, in this country, begin acting a bit less crazy in terms of what actual cultural representation meant. And y'all just don't be taking it. Someone is trying to call into our call again. What is happening? That is wild. You still here? I'm still here. We're good. I don't know what that was.
Mm-hmm.
The spies are on us. I don't like it. Um,
Mm-mm.
all of that said,
Mm-hmm.
with everything that you're talking about, with this moment that you're in particular,
Mm-hmm.
how
Mm-hmm.
did you get here? What how did you get to this
Mm-hmm.
road, this place where you are? You're born South Africa, you said.
Mm-hmm.
Where in South
Mm-hmm.
Africa? My foster brother's from
Mm-hmm.
Botswana.
He's from where?
Botswana.
Botswana. Oh, amazing. I mean, how did I get here? How did I get to be organizing? So liberation, freedom fighting, it runs in my DNA, right?
Hmm.
I got to this point fighting for Black lives, fighting in defense of Black lives, way before my parents even met. My grandmother was an organizer at church. Like she literally started the first church chapter, right? My uncles were freedom fighters in the struggle for liberation. Printing out pamphlets, having to hide it, having to be like really discreet and living in fear, but refusing to accept that was the way that they had to live in apartheid South Africa. Um, and so it's all of these influences, my mom being a public servant for 3 decades and my grandmother being an amazing speaker. So by the time I got here, I was surrounded by all of these amazing freedom dreamers, really, who,
Mm.
who, who, who never
Mm.
stopped who never stopped believing that like a better world was possible. So that was my foundation. I was really being set up for this role. All I ever wanted to do was write. I've been published since the age of 15, and I thought words would always be my whole life. All I wanted to do was write and tell people stories. And my mom was really cool about it. She let me write on my walls as a kid, which was completely unheard of. But she never believed in like restricting, right? Like, and that is how she fed my imagination. And so that's why I can tap into the Black radical imagination so easily. Because
Mm.
again, it's that foundation that was laid. But I worked super hard at school. I had to. If I wanted to attend what was a previously white university, I had to work my ass off, right? So I'm talking studying on Friday nights while everybody's out partying. And
Mm.
I had a dream of getting into this super prestigious journalism school, which I did. And I was set, right? I was a rising star, and my ambitions were just to become the editor of this, like the best-selling women's magazine, right? I was like, this is it. These are my aspirations. But
Mm.
my mom passed away of cancer, and
Mm.
my
I'm
whole
sorry.
world turned upside down. Thank you. And I remember shortly before she passed away, she asked me, so what do you want to do with your life? And I said, I want to travel. And so that's what I did. I realized that I just needed to get outside of that like Cape Town, mentality. So I'm from Cape Town in South Africa, and
Okay.
my people have been in that area since I want to say time immemorial. My ancestors were the ones who did all of the rock art, right? So I come from the Kuku tribe. You can Google
Okay.
it. Khoisan, the Khoi. We
Mm-hmm.
have the cheekbones and the big bums, light skin. Like we've always looked like this, way before colonialism, right? Rocked our shores. But I was a journalist, and then I decided to teach just as a way to travel. And while I was doing that, I met my partner, who is from Portland, Oregon. And the interesting thing is, the first time I came to Portland was for my best friend's graduation. Um, So Wilhelmine was studying at the U of O, so she's South African too. Um, but none of her family could afford to come to the graduation. And so I came from China. I fell in love with the city. Oh my gosh, Auntie, like you could be your queer, dreadlock, tattooed self and nobody would do a double take. I really felt like Portland was this creative hub where you could really be anything you wanted to be. At the time, I was living in rural China, so Portland, Oregon really felt like the next big thing, right? The next
Right.
step for me. And a few months later, I meet my partner, and he's from here. Things like progressed really, really quickly, and about half a year later, I'm here, back again, meeting his people, his folks, and I fucking hated it. It was terrible. So he's a white Jew, and so that's a lot of his like world, right? Like his friends, his family. And I was told that we were going to live in a historically black neighborhood. Now, in my head, that is always filled with words. Historically black meant that there were going to be so many black folks around me because this is a historically black neighborhood, and so surely people are going to be working to preserve the history of blackness.
And
I
the
was
people maybe.
wrong.
And the people maybe.
And the people. I was horribly wrong. Historically black meant these neighborhoods had been gentrified.
Yeah.
And the least that these gentrifiers could do was use the word historically. Like that was like their nod to the history that had happened. And so I went days without seeing anyone that looked like me. I went days where I was the only black person in a cafe. I'm sure you know all of these feelings. I was feeling hyper visible and invisible at the same time, and it really started to fuck with my brain because in like segregated apartheid South Africa, you literally grow up with people who look like you. You go to school with people who look like you. You go to church with people who look like you. You are constantly seeing yourself reflected, and you are constantly being affirmed. And remember, the caregivers in my life, they never held back from telling me how amazing I am and how powerful I am.
Mm-hmm.
But once I got here, there was no one. I had no community, no friends. And it got so bad that I went to go see a doctor, an African immigrant like me. I said, Doctor, I'm losing my fucking mind. And he said, no, you're not. That's very normal for a black woman to feel that way. And I was like, fucking excuse me? Unacceptable. I refuse to live or move in a city where people just fucking stare at me all the time. Like these people would be staring at me just having a meal in a restaurant. Like that was that fucking fascinating. They would reach out and just touch your hair without asking. So I left. I left for Vietnam, and I knew that if I ever came back, I was going to work to building a city where people who look like me don't feel like fucking animals at a zoo.
Mm.
So when we eventually came back, I found this amazing organization, PAALF. I did a leadership program. And after the program was done at their Black Leadership Academy, I realized I want to stay here. I want to build with these people. Our EV, Joy Elise Davis, is this young queer black femme who
Shout
has
out
just
Joy.
this
Shout out Joy. We see you.
just this amazing leadership, such a fucking visionary.
Yeah.
And totally, I had never organized in my fucking life, right? But she saw me and she was like, you should be a part of this work. And so that's how I ended up here. Never in my life did I think I would be working at an abolitionist organization, doing the work that I get to do now. But if you really sit back and think about it, it makes so much sense.
Oh, wow. That's wild. I'm sorry to hear about your mom and again, so many of the right. I mean, it's what it is to be kinfolk, right? It's what it is to be
Mm-hmm.
tribespeople, right?
Mm-hmm.
I had very much the same experience, and recently, I was fortunate
Oh.
to have my mother through childhood,
Mm-hmm.
and through some early adult hardships.
Mm-hmm.
And she was diagnosed at stage 4, was told, you maybe have a few months, and we had her for 4 or 5 years.
Oof.
But
Mm-hmm.
very similarly, right?
Mm-hmm.
Toward the end of her life, she sent me this photo of herself in this old concert t-shirt from a group that I was in the 90s. And
Oh.
she, doing rap hands, doing her version of rap hands, and
Mm-hmm.
she sent it to me. She had my father send it to me and said, this is what you do. You do art. You are a public person. You do comedy.
Yes.
Like, do that. Do that.
Mm-hmm.
Stop fucking around.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yes.
And I don't think that I don't know. I don't think people who have not been through that loss of a parent in that way
Mm-hmm.
understand how that catapults you into this next
Mm.
level of action. Did you find that same thing? I mean, you talked
What?
about it in the book.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I love that you said next level because it really is like, no, I hate like the word woke, but it really was just
Right.
like a it was such a reality check, right? Of
Yeah.
like, wait, what the fuck am I doing? And what do I want to be doing, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's when I realized I don't want to be just be working as a journalist, earning the amount of money I was earning. Because black tax, right? The money that I was making, I was giving my mom money, my grandparents, I was an emergency and still am, right? I knew I needed to be making more money and I wanted to live a bigger life.
Yeah.
And I mean, fuck, it's like my mom's death like gave me that perspective. And honestly, that stings to say like, fuck the patriarchy, right? Like, fuck being stuck in post apartheid, quote unquote, South Africa. Fuck that. I'm gonna get out. I'm gonna go and explore and experience, right? The world, just me,
Yeah.
just me on my, by my badass self. So if she hadn't passed away, most definitely I would still be in Cape Town for good or for bad, right? But
Right.
but
Right.
that was the life experience, and it really is hard to explain it to someone who hasn't been through it. But people look at us, right? People look at me, your niecey, and
Yeah.
look at you, auntie, and they're just like, wow, amazing, so fearless, so brave, and it's like, bitch, I went through a lot of trauma to get here. Like these were lessons I had to learn the hard way.
Listen, Hunty, diamonds don't come without pressure. That's not how it happens.
Mm-mm.
That's
No, there was a lot of pressure.
that's some cubic zirconia shit. That ain't the real real. We with the real real up in this
Yes,
place. We with the real real up in
yes.
this place. Listen.
Yes, we had to be shaped by all those fucking experiences in
Yeah.
order to carve out this life that I truly want to live. Like this is exactly what the fuck I want to be doing.
Oh, well, and you're doing it. I'm going to say this too, right? Because when it was during an opportunity that I had to provide a very short engagement, a very short facilitation for you and some
An
badasses.
amazing facilitation.
Thank you. In which you are one of, I think, the first women, first femmes to see
Mhm.
me in my fullness, but not within the frameworks in which I was brought up, right? So like not in theater,
Mhm.
right? We're not
Mhm.
on stage. This is not
Mhm.
this is not the thespian society. I get done with the thing, and for you to
Mhm.
ask for the confirmative assent, right, consent to embrace me as auntie,
Aww.
I had never felt so seen, right? And to try what's so wild to me, because you also talked earlier about Auntie Angela, and I was talking with my father this morning, and I was making reference
Mhm.
to Uncle James. I was making reference to James Baldwin,
Mhm.
and he had
Mhm.
not heard. He'd heard, but was still unfamiliar with, and had a very historically contexted framework
Mhm.
for that level of embrace that your generation
Mhm.
and has I firmly believe taught up, and
Mhm.
re-embracing the familial aspect right?
Mm-hmm.
Of what it is to grow forward, of what it is to stand on the shoulders of those we came before. And so I was explaining this to him. He was the one who explained to me that, for them, and of course, it's tied to the idea of referring to somebody as Uncle Tom, this, that, and the next. They
Mm-hmm.
would very often derogatorily refer to, for instance, the then leader of the NAACP as Uncle Roy, right?
Got it. Got it.
As the download, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so he was at a lecture by somebody somewhere between our two ages, from this sister who kept referring to Uncle James. And he
Mm-hmm.
said he had enjoyed this lecture so much. And then he heard that and he was like, wait, motherfucker, what? And he kept it. He held it. He held it. And we had to
Mm-hmm.
talk today. And I was like, oh yeah, Poppy. No, I've been Uncle and Auntie in, like, this is embrace, this is family.
Yes. Yes.
Can you talk about what that is for you? What that means for you?
Yes. For sure. So, in our culture, we've been so fucking colonized to the power of a billion, right? Um, my tribe, they've been almost completely decimated, right? We lost so much. We lost all of our fucking art, our fucking traditions,
Mm,
our language, our cuisines, right? But one thing that we've never lost is that sense of community, right? And and just it's so common back home. Like we see your extended family once a week at least.
yeah.
Okay, and this is not a fucking burden or chore. Like you are looking forward to Friday night. You're gonna go to Auntie Angela's house. There's gonna be barbecue, which we call braai. So being outside around a fire is really big. Um, this culture of leisure, right? Like
Yeah.
getting
Yes.
together,
Yes.
getting together, and having like this like drawn out social engagement,
Come
right? Like
on.
we we get to Auntie Angie's at like 6 p.m., right? And we leave at like 2 a.m. because we don't want to leave. We want to keep engaging and talking and eating. And once that's done, we start dancing. That was honestly one of the hardest things, side note, for me was when I got to the States, and I've been here for about 2 years, right? And we had folks come over to our place, and people were just in such a hurry to leave. And I was like, we haven't even started dancing. Like, I'm so confused. So,
Oh,
family
oh,
is
the
like you
heartbreak.
look.
That is so
It
heartbreaking. My God.
was so heartbreaking. It
To
was
feel
so
like we
boring.
haven't even started dancing. I can't even imagine what,
It
like, wait,
was
wait,
it was
what?
so it was so boring. They left, and I
Holy
asked
shit.
my partner, like why did we invite them? Like, why did we go through all this trouble of cooking and cleaning
Oh,
for these folks not to be in joy with us, right? So the joy has to come, So joy and family, like you look back home, we look forward to seeing our family, right? And so my mom's best friend is my auntie, right?
mm.
My uncle's cousin's
Yes,
son, who's like
yes.
older than me, is like my uncle, right? So
Yeah.
there's no way I could use like their first name, right? And so that is a sign of respect, but also it's a sign of affection, and it's a sign of love, and it's a sign of gratitude, really.
Yeah.
um, when I say Auntie Carlos, I'm saying I fucking appreciate you, and I see everything you've done for me to live the kind of life that I'm living. I didn't get here by myself, right? I didn't get to be this like superstar organizer that like just like people are just amazed by. It's like that's false. There've been so many people who've come before me to like carve this path out for me, literally, so I could be like, moving the way that I'm moving through the world. And so when we talk about, Uncle James and Auntie Angela, and these are folks that have come before us. They've done so much of the work for us.
That's it. That's
And
it.
they've done it in love. They've done it in love. Organizing is love. It's it's saying I want to see a better world for you, right? And so when I honor these folks, that's my way of saying I appreciate you. And it's interesting now for me. It's interesting to see who I refer to like as auntie and uncle, like with like my new family, right? It's really interesting to see what comes out of my mouth because I do it without even realizing it. Some people are just first name, and that's never gonna change. Yeah, and there's nothing that can be done, you know. But when I say Auntie Carlos, like that shit means something, and it also this work is fucking hard, right? Like I mean, let's start at the baseline. Being black in America is hard, right?
Yeah.
Being a black queer femme, it's fucking tough. Like every day, there's that amazing quote, rejoice with me that something tried to kill me and didn't succeed, right? That is like the black experience. And when we acknowledge those that have come before us, and when we acknowledge all that they've done, and when we open ourselves up to like feeling all of that love, that is what fucking sustains us, right? If you can know that you are not doing this work alone, you can stay in this work. There's that African proverb, right? If you want to go alone, but if you want to go far, go together.
Go together.
And our ancestors are with us,
Yeah.
Our moms might have passed away, but no doubt she is sending energy my way, and she's sending goodwill my way, and that's the reason that I can do the work that I'm doing. So shout out to all of the aunties and uncles in my lives, and that's how we stay connected, and when I first got here, the black community was so fucking warm and welcoming, and I was like, okay, I'm home.
Right.
I'm home.
Right. And I hope that people hear that too, right? Because as you're saying that, right, I'm thinking of my Uncle Melvin. I'm thinking of my Uncle Andrew. I'm thinking of my brother Uncle Sally. I'm thinking of my sister Maya. My nephew Forrest, who was here with me as maybe I think the second person I was talking to. And of these people, those that I'm blood related to, number 0.
Wow.
And
yes.
number 0. And my uncles, they helped raise me. My Uncle Melvin, he was my brother uncle, my blood uncle's best friend. And so since my uncle has passed, I'm still in touch with my Uncle Melvin, and I've never referred to him as anything other than Uncle Melvin. I mean, it's never even occurred to me that would happen, right? JoJo and I were not the same age, but we had so many shared experiences in terms of he had gone to the same high school I went to. He went to the same, or I went to the same high school he went to, rather. Let me be clear. I went to the same university. We stayed in the same dormitory. Do you know what I'm saying? So,
yes.
so that for me, it was just as hard for me to as I aged as he aged, to JoJo as uncle. But there's no way I could not refer to Melvin that, so that I really do hope that Black Americans are hearing and recognizing the universality of that, experience throughout the diaspora. It's just the indigenous Black experience. It is what it is. It's a village to raise your family. That is what it is.
There's something very universal about moving through the world as a Black person. There is now, and I'm not talking about when you see a Black person in China and you are just expected to be best friends. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the fucking resiliency that is just glowing from within all of us. Like, there is just something about being Black.
Oh, there's something about that.
And that's the reason.
Keep going. You froze.
Oh,
go.
Yes. No, yes, there is something about moving through the world as a Black person that connects all of us, right? It connects all of us in the diaspora. And that is our strength and that is our resilience, you know.
Yeah.
Colonialism might come for us, white supremacy might try and fucking come for us, but they can never take away. They can never, ever, ever take away the fact that my fucking aunties and uncles love me. They've worked hard to create a better world for me, and I don't have to prove anything to anyone.
No.
I am, and I'm not just fucking standing on the shoulders of giants that have come before me.
Yeah.
I am literally surrounded by Black people who think that I am amazing, and nobody can take that away from you.
Yeah. And
No one can do community the way that we can do community. No one can do care the way that we do care. That is so universal. You fucking show up. You show up for your people. And it's so universal and it's so fucking interesting. You know, we're talking about all of these mutual aid funds during COVID, right?
Mm-hmm.
Black people will donate so fucking much money. Does that mean that they have the money to donate? No, but they understand that when you have a little bit more than your cousin, you're going to try and help your cousin out.
Yeah.
And that's the reason why there are Black people in the future. We're not going anywhere. We're going to keep taking care of each other.
Yeah. This is the future. Ain't no this is the future. This is it. We in it. Here we are.
We are here. We are here. Like,
and they know
Oregon
they
literally.
call us their essential workers. They call us their essential workers because it would be rude to call us their slaves.
Listen. Like, when we talk about the fucking disparities of the coronavirus, Black communities and brown communities in South Africa are being decimated by this. Okay? And this is a very carefully set up and designed system. Apartheid was a very well thought out, well researched system. They literally sent out a task force to other countries in the world to study oppression. Now what I'm saying is, if these motherfuckers could take the time and the money to build this vicious and brutal system, then surely we can build a new one. It's that simple.
Come on.
This is that simple. Like, are you gonna try and build this new world with me, or are you gonna get stuck in old patterns and old lies that they keep telling us? We have been creative and resilient and talented since the moment we got here. Like, come on.
Since always. And we either hide or we don't. We've been all the things. We've been brilliant. We've been resilient. We've been talented.
Yes.
We've been fierce. We've been sexy. We've been queer.
Yes.
We've been out.
Yes.
There's not even been such a thing as queer. Not even such a thing as gender. Look at how so-called male biological males show up across the continent of Africa in order to find partnership, which also may or may not, depending on the state and how colonialized it happens to be exclusive and or with somebody of the opposite sex in every instance. We are beautiful. It's here where it's like, okay, these are the rules and women can be queer and that's it. And also as queer as your sexuality. What is happening?
Blackness is inherently queer, right? Because if we are talking about the default, which we all know what the default is, we're going to try and stray fucking far away from that. The default wants to categorize you and place you in all of these boxes, right? But Janelle Monáe said, categorize me, I will defy every label. I stay defying these labels.
They love
Listen, you're either a good person or you're a bad person.
Right.
Yeah, that's it. And everything can be explained by that.
And they don't understand why we tell them. They don't understand why we tell them. Then send me to hell, because that's where the interesting people are, honey.
No, there's a quote, there's a poem by I.M. Monet that says, there's no good or bad. There's justice or no justice. And with no justice, there's no peace. There's no good or bad. There's only justice. So all I'm asking you is, are you moving in advancement towards justice for Black people? And that is a fucking yes or no. That is binary. Yes or no.
That's
justice for Black people. That's it. Are you here for black liberation? Yes or no?
Yeah.
Like, it's not that complex, honey. Like, stop trying to like overthink this.
It is
I
very
just need
simple.
to know. I just need to know, are you for black people's liberation?
Okay, so
That's
these
it.
people, if they for black people's liberation, then I'm gonna hit this last thing with you. If they for black people's liberation, then
Mm-hmm.
why, of all things to do, would you be
Mm-hmm.
pushing these black people to do the census? Explain yourself.
That is a brilliant fucking question. I mean, the census really is about visibility, and especially if you think about the state of Oregon, they wanted no black people here. That's why it's so spectacular that there are still black people here in the year 2020. They literally said no fucking thank you, and I mean, you know all about the evolution of anti-blackness in the state of Oregon. It was supposed to be this white utopia. But when we fill out the census as black people, that is rebellion. That is saying,
Come on.
we are here. And these are the numbers. Look at how many of us are out here. And as a black person, you know that there are so many black people in the state of Oregon, right? But the
Truth.
narrative that Oregon tries to push out is that this is a very white state. This is a very white liberal state. And we are saying that's not fucking true. Black people have been here and they've been contributing and they've been making the state an amazing place to be. Now, the census is a way for us to make our voices heard. The census is a way for us to say, this is how many black people are here. And guess what? We're not fucking going anywhere. The census is about changing that narrative and really tapping into that power of the community that is existing here, right? I mean, black people have been pushed out of their neighborhoods. They've been sometimes even pushed out of the state of Oregon, right? But for the black Oregonians that are still here, like, we need to get counted and we need to let the census data reflect that we are here. We aren't going anywhere. You can try, but we're not going anywhere because we need the census dollars. So the census is about that representation, that visibility, but it's also about getting money to our communities. Because for every person, for every person that doesn't get counted, we lose around $4,000 per person per year that doesn't get counted. That's billions of dollars for the state of Oregon, right? I mean,
And those
people.
are federal dollars, right? Federal dollars.
Those are federal dollars that goes towards federal programs that anybody in your life that you can think of uses census dollars. Census dollars goes towards roads and schools, to just keep it very like low level, right?
Okay.
Goes towards roads and schools and hospitals. We all have people in our lives that use the roads or go to the schools or go to the hospitals, but it's also the SNAP program. It's also unemployment. It's also the WEEK program. So it's all of these programs that we use without even realizing that that's census dollars. And if we don't get counted, we get less and less money. And Oregon, we really can't afford to do that because a lot of our state budget comes from those federal dollars. Like, we really do need those federal dollars, right?
Yeah.
And so it's about money. It's about political power too. We stand a chance to gain a 6th congressional seat. This is a very fucking big deal. This is political power. And if there was ever a time to be pro more political power, it is now. Like, it's been a fucking nightmare. It's been a nightmare to live in under this administration, right? Now, the census is a chance for us to take back some of that political power. And above and beyond that, you know, people are predicting the worst undercount for Black and Latinx communities in 3 decades. The worst, right? I'm saying let's show up and show them that they're wrong. And let's show up and show them that the census is an act of care. You know, we were speaking about care and about love. Yeah. It's really easy to feel helpless in this global pandemic, right? But by taking the census, you are showing care for your community. And isn't that something that Black people have always done?
That's it. That's what we do.
Isn't that something that Black people have always understood and like it just instinctually known how to do? So we should take the census.
Take
it right now. You can take it online, and it takes you like 8 minutes. It took me 8 minutes to take it online.
Yeah. Yeah, and where's that?
Yes.
That's mycensus.org, right? Is that right?
Yes. Let me pull it up real quick so that
Yeah,
we
pull it
don't
up so
fuck
we
it
don't
up.
say it wrong, because we're gonna fuck it up. We've been relaxing,
Yes.
smoking
Yes.
mirrors for
We
a
don't want to
reason,
fuck it up.
smoking the air,
Mm-hmm.
glassy eyes, smoking mirrors. We doing
Mm-hmm.
this.
So just go to 2020census.gov. So the
Oh,
year that we're in, census.gov. Listen, when it comes to the census, you're the boss. You can decide how you want to take it. Do you want to take it online? Do you want to take it over the phone? Do you want to take it by mail? It's up to you.
what's the deadline? Is there a deadline? What's the deadline?
Well, I would love it if you would take it today.
Yesterday, right now, right fucking now.
That would make my day amazing.
Come on, make
But the
Queen's Day.
deadline
Make Queen's
has been
Day.
extended. It has been extended to the end of October, just so we can make sure that our communities are getting counted. You can also take the census by phone, and so that number is 844-330-2020. 844-330-2020. And so these are the options that you have, and these are the things that you should do. You should take the census.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not even fucking
Yes.
around with this. I mean, beyond the fact that the relationships that I've built through working with you, working with We Count Oregon, working with other folks who are in the
Mm-hmm.
field doing this work,
Mm-hmm.
is the reality that I, as somebody who has been under surveillance in the United States, am very aware of why it feels like giving up information isn't the shit to do,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like I don't want nobody knocking
Mm-hmm.
on my door. I
Mm-hmm.
certainly don't want to volunteer the shit. Here's what I'm gonna say
Mm-hmm.
about that though. Two things, right?
Mm-hmm.
One, motherfucker, if you're looking at this right now, that means you're looking at
Mm-hmm.
this either on YouTube or you're looking at this on
Mm-hmm.
Facebook, and you already giving up
Mm-hmm.
all your fucking information. So who you pretending? Okay? Why you pretending? You already chose to share your information with Zuckerberg, you sharing it with Google's, you sharing it with anybody who wants it, as long as it's for consumer purposes. This is for political purposes, so you have a chance to make a difference, right? The second thing that I would offer is
Mm-hmm.
this. Trump don't want you taking it. He tried to add that stipulation around whether or not you're an immigrant to the census, specifically hoping that fewer people take it. Also hoping that fewer black people take it because he doesn't want our numbers counted. Anything that Trump doesn't want you to do it twice. Wear a mask, vote, you know what I'm saying? Have good consensual sex. What else
Mm-hmm.
don't he like? Smoke weeds, think for yourself,
Mm-hmm.
read a book,
Mm-hmm.
read anything.
Mm-hmm.
Eat a
Mm-hmm.
salad. If
Listen,
if he thinks it's a bad idea, do it.
mhm.
Say it, girl. What you got?
Immigration is a black issue. We
Period.
have a
Why?
thriving community of
Tell
black immigrants in the
says a
state of
black immigrant.
Oregon.
Says the black immigrant. Are you listening?
Listen, listen, we need to make sure that our black immigrants are counted in the census. It's fucking critical. It doesn't matter what your status is. It doesn't matter what your fucking citizenship status is. It doesn't matter if you've been previously incarcerated. It doesn't matter if you have any of these things that you think should be holding you back from taking the census. That doesn't matter. You live in the United States, you should take the census.
The
You
census
live in
don't
the
care.
United
They
States,
don't
you should
care
be
that you're lying
counted.
to your landlord. They don't care that you've been lying to your landlord. They don't need it. The census ain't
Yes,
gonna tell how
no,
many
they
people live
don't.
with you. If you got 15 people with you, if your cousin Freddie is on the couch, if your daughter is on the
Mm-hmm.
futon in the middle of the room, and your boo boo in the bed,
Mm-hmm.
guess what? And somebody pregnant, guess what? Guess how many bodies
Mm-hmm.
that is? Count them. Every single body.
Yes,
They don't
count
need everybody
everybody. Count the
names.
newborns. Count everybody living in your household. There was a time when Black Americans weren't counted as a full person. We owe it to our ancestors to get counted, to get this full fucking count.
Come on. They stole our count, y'all. We taking it back. You know what that
Yes,
is,
they
right? They took
did.
that
They
three-fifths
literally
of person.
did.
They literally just assigned themselves three-fifths of a vote per population
Mm-hmm.
of enslaved
Mm-hmm.
African and just gave themselves more counts. Count yourself.
Mm-hmm.
This is our chance. Come on, y'all. Come on,
And
y'all.
why do you think
Recount.
they did that? They did that for more political power and for more resources for their community. And
And
so
now
we're
the
saying it's
Electoral
2020
College,
and we are fucking tired of being under-resourced and underserved. We're
and
done.
it's them same motherfuckers who gave you Trump. For as much as I love blaming 53% of white women, because really, fuck them,
Mm-hmm.
but you didn't do it. You ain't even got that power. That was the Electoral College. The same
Mm-hmm.
motherfuckers who took that power and created
Mm-hmm.
that three-fifths. So count yourself. Get counted, y'all. Come on, let's do this.
Get counted.
Get
Yes, get
counted.
counted.
That's it. Listen, baby, this has been fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much, Auntie. This was incredible.
You know we have to do this again some kind of way. You know we have to do this
We
again some kind of way.
do. Hit me up. I'm available tomorrow. When do you need me?
Shit, you know
What
I'm gonna
time
let
should
you
I?
know. You know I'm gonna let you
What time
know.
should I be ready? What time should I be
420, we here
ready?
420, we here 420. You know what that mean. You know what that mean.
Well, I
Uh
feel like you are trying to cut this off, and I just want to make it very clear that we are
say
in
it, baby. Say it.
defense. We are in defense of all black lives. We aren't here for any fucking respectability politics. And we will not stop fighting until we create a world that is free of police and free of prisons. Join the movement.
Period. Period. I'm giving you the
Period.
last look. I'm giving you
Period.
the last look. Look at that. Look at that. Hey, y'all, please give it up for Ray. Give it up for Queen. Give it up for Queen. Huh? That's how we do here. That's how we do here. This has been another Smoke and Mirrors. Thank you so much for joining us. If you have joined us, it has been a pleasure to be here with you. Hey, look at that. Look at that screen you're seeing right now. You know what that means. That means that, as you know, all last month I was asking for folks to, if you have a doubloon to share, think about sharing that doubloon with the Okra Project that was in Brooklyn. That was about feeding our trans, femme, and queer community. This month, I am asking if you have an extra doubloon in your pocket and you have the ability to contribute to the community in a broader way, you do that through the Marsha P. Johnson Foundation. If you would please consider that. We are talking about the arts. We are talking about culture. We are talking about the West Coast. We are talking about queer life. We are talking about destroying the binary and the patriarchy. And you can find out more about them, of course, at Marsha P. Johnson Foundation, all over the webs. And the way to donate is at marshap.org / to the donate. Hey, this has been Smoke and Mirrors, and sometimes I say things that bother people. If you would rather just look at my gorgeous, gorgeous face, you can do that. You could do it at the IG, El Caballo Negrito, for the monolingual. Amongst us, that is El Caballo Negrito. Look it up. On Twitter, you could hear see the words with your eyes. It's like word art. On Twitter at Caballo Negrito, I'm there. You can send a complaint if you have one. You can send that to at Real Donald Trump at Twitter. Please do send any complaint that you have there. But if you have a suggestion, do you have a thing to say? Do you have a topic you would like to suggest, a guest you would like to suggest? Please reach out. You can reach out at Smoke and Mirrors, CCB at gmail.com. The C and the C and the B are for the comedy, the culture, the bullshit. If you really want to, drop five on it, but you don't want to become a patron, you don't want the commitment. Guess what? You don't have to commit. You could go ahead and drop a little something in Venmo. You could drop five on it there. That's Carlos hyphen Wyndham, Windham, Alabama slaveholders. That's who had us, like the jazz label. Also, Cash App at $CK Wyndham, PayPal me at CK Wyndham. You hear them? You hear them trying to get us? They're not going to fucking get us. And I'll tell you how I know they're not going to get us, because we are getting the fuck out of here. This has been Smoke and Mirrors. Thank you for spending some time. Take care of yourself. Take care of each other. If you are near a human being that you love and you have been isolated and or together long enough to make it so, please give them a big, big hug. If that's not true for you and all you have is yourself in these stupid walks, hey, uh, I hope a cat brushes up against your legs today. Wash your hands. I love you. Okay, we'll see you tomorrow. I'm gonna be here with who the fuck am I? Dom Jones. Be here tomorrow. Okay, bye. Bye. Oh, 5:20. Bye.